Stefan, um, give us like a. So we're gonna do this whole pop quiz questions.
Yeah.
One sentences to one paragraph. What is your professional description as of right now?
Professional description. I wouldn't call it a professional description, but I'll answer the question anyway. Athlete. I'll break it down into categories. I'm an athlete, I'm a coach, and a business owner. So 3 categories that have really helped me in my life and what I live every single day by doing.
Cool. What is your hobby?
Hobby. Oh, so many things. First thing that came to mind was sport. Very passionate about soccer, tennis, basketball. I mean, when my team's playing tennis is huge for me as well. So sport has played a massive role in my life. Love spending time with family, love meeting new people, love connecting with new people, and I love being at the beach. Like being at the beach for me is the ultimate disconnection from life.
How does your day-to-day look like?
Day-to-day look like? My day-to-day life changes all the time depending on what I feel and what I want to be doing, whether it's building businesses, whether it's spending time with family or friends, or it's just being with myself to create something new or to get more inspiration, because I feel that when I'm in my own space, that's where my ideas, inspirations, creations really come together.
What is your close circles look like?
So say that again, sorry.
Like, how does like your close circle look like? Relationship.
I'm very, like, when I say close circle, I see the people in my close circle like family. Like if I need something, if I need to talk to someone, if there's something on my mind, if I need to explore an idea or get ideas from someone, my close circle is family. And to be honest, I wouldn't be where I am in life if it wasn't for my close circle. And in my close circle, it's very heavily populated by my family, of course, because I love my family. And then there's also a lot of friends from different avenues, from sport, from business, from careers, from gym, from sport, like many different types of people from different avenues of life.
How many people are in your close circles as of right now?
It's not a big circle, I'll be honest. It's not a big circle. It's family and a few close friends. And I'm not going to go into names, but my close friends know that they're my close friends because I share that with them. And when we're having dinner, they know that when we're at the table, these are people that have had a massive impact on me, of the person I am. And they know that we're in it, like, it's a brotherhood, sisterhood. What you know what I mean? Like, not so much sisterhood because I'm a man, but brotherhood. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Cool. Let me think this for a bit. Introvert or extrovert?
Oh, interesting question. I'm an extroverted introvert, if that counts. So extrovert, introvert. I love people. I love talking to people. I love communicating. I love working with people. Team environments I thrive when I'm in a team environment. I feel that that's ultimately my purpose, and working with others is when I feel most myself. But then when I take a step away from that, I need my own space to be able to almost rejuvenate myself and regain the energy, so when I'm with others, I can share that with them. So back to your question, extroverted, introvert.
Who is your most influential sort of character? Can be influencer, can be people that you know. Who is it?
That's an interesting question. There's 2 people that come to mind. Number 1 would be my favorite athlete of all time, which is Novak Djokovic. Obviously, my parents are from those regions, and I deeply can understand and connect to his way of living, going about life, his mentality, and the way he sees life in many ways. and I'm a huge sport fan. So whenever he's playing, I disconnect from everything. They know that for the 2 hours to 5 hours, however long his match is, that's my time to spend fully focused on the TV, if that makes sense, because I'm so passionate. And then the other person would probably be Gary Vee. I mean, Gary Vee has played a massive role in my life, especially during COVID. And that's why when you ask me how big's my circle, I used to have a massive circle. And when I say massive circle, I'm talking 80 plus people, maybe 100 plus people. And that's because I was almost afraid of being alone. But I realized there was so much power in being alone. And by quietening the judgment of those people that I thought were friends or family, I needed to narrow down that circle to small as possible to be able to get to where I am today. And COVID was a blessing where I got to spend so much time in my own space. I was learning about myself. I was learning about what's out there, what I want to be in life. And when I was able to narrow that category of people down to just me and restart my circle of friends, that was very powerful. That was a very powerful time in my life, and very, very inspirational. The things he talks about and is very true in many ways.
What keeps you going every single day?
Knowing that there's more. Simple answer. Like that keeps me going. Knowing that there's more out there. Knowing that I can do more and that my impact is still. I have so much more to share with other people, and knowing that I have that capacity to share, and knowing that people need to hear it and receive it, keeps me going every single day.
What is it that you like to share?
What or why?
Or what?
What
What is what is it?
perspective? Like we overcomplicate what life is, when life, in fact, is so simple. It's such a simple thing. Like we've been given this opportunity to breathe, for our heart rate to beat, and that's ultimately all that matters. That's all that matters. It's you're able to breathe, your heart's beating. Every single day, every day you wake up is another opportunity to experience life for what it is. And we're too focused on achieving something that we think is going to bring us happiness, or we're too focused on thinking that having the biggest house or the best car is going to bring us happiness. When ultimately, if you're not happy today, you won't be happy tomorrow.
Love that. Love that. And one last question. What is your work-life balance like?
Interesting, because I have so many things that I do. So I love playing sport. I'm a coach, tennis coach. Um, I have multiple businesses that I'm owning as well and running at the same time. I'm a mindset coach. I help other businesses grow as well. I have a huge passion for learning more about myself in other situations. So putting myself out there in situations that I may be uncomfortable in, to learn about how I can respond in a more adaptable manner and see what areas of my life I can continue to work in. But back to your question, work-life balance. Work-life balance is a very interesting question because people are so focused on having a perfect work-life balance. But my question to those people is, what is perfect? And I believe a perfect work-life balance is where you're just truly happy to where you are in this present moment.
Cool. Thank you for doing this short game that we're
Pleasure.
having. Yeah. Cool. Cool. So coming to this point, what is like the earliest context that we need to know to be able to understand who Stefan is
Yeah.
right now?
So what's the question? Could you please say that again? Who am I right now?
Yeah, like can you give us like a earliest context to be able to like know who you are?
So do you want me to go back a few years to my childhood and talk about that, and then go to this
Yeah.
present moment? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Growing up was a very interesting time for me because my parents aren't from Australia. So I was born in Australia, but my parents from former Yugoslavia. And for those that know, former Yugoslavia broke up into many countries because of the war. And at the time, they were both over 30 years old. very established careers back at home, in Serbia and Croatia, very established careers, and they knew they wanted a family, but they couldn't start a family when they were in the middle of a war. And they had an education, they had all their family over there, they had their dream life ultimately with the people they loved. And they were put in a very difficult situation or position where they had to choose whether they were going to stay or or were they going to leave. And they decided to leave and surprisingly moved to Australia, which they never thought they would, because last time they visited Australia, they actually didn't like it as a country. And as life is often full of surprises, they moved to a country and started a family. And I mean, there's so many positives that I can think of why they came to Australia. Like the opportunities and the life I've been able to create for myself is full credit to them for making the decision and giving me a safe, stable, loving country that's able to, accept people for who they are and have actually a beautiful outlook on life. And it's interesting because growing up, I didn't know the language. I only spoke Serbian and Croatian at home. I didn't speak Australian because that's not, or English because that's not the language we spoke at home. And the only people I was surrounded by were my parents, my sister, which now I have two sisters, one's significantly younger, sisters, and my grandparents. And that's all I knew. That's the only people I was around. But there was so much power in not understanding the language because I was able to really find myself till about the age of 4 years old because I didn't. The only people I knew was my parents, people I loved, and my grandparents. And funny story, I started to slowly pick up English, and at the age of 4.5, I was okay. I was probably 50% English, fluent in English. And at that age, my parents decided to go back there for a 6-month holiday with us. So we went back there, had an amazing time, came back, and I forgot all my English again. So I had to relearn that and didn't know language until I was 5 years old. And it's beautiful to know different languages because there's so much power in understanding culture. There's so much power in understanding people, not just the words they speak, but emotions, feelings, gestures, hand gestures. Like there's so many small things that I reflect on now that I look at and I'm so good at picking that up because I didn't know the language and I had to use different cues to understand what was going on. And I had an amazing childhood all through primary school. I had amazing friends, high school, amazing friends, university while I was studying physiotherapy, amazing friends. And really, what opened my eyes to what happened in life was in 2015, my mum got diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And that was a shock to me and the whole family because I was a 15-year-old boy in year 10 and I thought life was easy, like being a 15-year-old kid, you got a roof over your head, you got food on the table every night, you got a shower, you're not paying rent, you don't have any expenses. Parents are helping you in every way possible. They're paying for your out of school commitments, and life was easy. But then when mum had to share that, that really brought a new perspective to what life is and how short life can be if you don't take full advantage and if you don't take care of yourself. And that was 2014, sorry, stage 3 breast cancer, and she fully healed from that. And then shortly after, 6 months later, she came home again and said she had been diagnosed stage 4 breast cancer, now on the opposite side. And that really was a shock because we thought she was fine, she was doing well, she healed from the first round of cancer, and now hearing the news that she was going to go through chemotherapy and other radiation and other treatment that were potentially, life treating someone's life, but also life damaging was a scary thought. And she really got into a lot of inner work and a lot of mindset work. And she started working on herself through healing, different modalities, breathwork, meditation. And through her own healing, she was able to fight the cancer. And she won both fights, both round 3 and stage 3 and stage 4. And she's alive to this day. And that's really what shaped me and my life was my early childhood where I wasn't able to understand a language and my parents did so well to come to Australia and to create everything that I could have asked for and even more. And I'm so grateful for both my parents so deeply. And then also the other story was my mum and what she went through, and gaining a perspective of how grateful you have to be for this opportunity at life, because it can be so easily taken away from you if you don't take full advantage of it and you don't live life the way you want to live.
What have you learned back you were when you were 15? Like what shifted? What changed during then when you actually witnessed something so real? You were so young.
It was so real. It was so like it was so real. Just understanding emotion. I mean, coming from a very, very European background, emotions aren't expressed. It's very a man's not allowed to cry. He's not allowed to express. He needs to be, the macho man of the house. And as as beautiful that is, it's damaging to the person itself. If you're not able to express your love to someone, or you're not able to express your emotion, whether that being crying, your tears, your anger, whatever it is, seeing my mum go through what she went through opened my heart and opened my understanding of emotion, because before then I'd never been hurt in my life. Do you know what I mean? Like psychologically hurt. Yes, there's trauma that's happened in my life, but it's insignificant. It hadn't impacted me to the point until I was 15. And then seeing my mum go through what she went through and seeing how she handled it, but she allowed herself to express her emotion, gave me permission to also express my own emotion, and really understand that expressing emotion is a vulnerability, but being vulnerable is a superpower and it's such a strength. And people need to understand that by showing emotion, it gives permission to the people around you to also show emotion. And it's a superpower. It's a strength. Vulnerability is a strength.
Why is vulnerable important to you?
Because it gives permission to other people to do the same. I mean, if I didn't share the story that I just shared, there could be someone thinking, "Oh, this guy's life's perfect, and he's able to portray all these characteristics, and he's not going through anything. Life's easy for him." Uh, it's perspective. You might think that someone's life is easy until you sit down and have a talk to him, and then you realize that life is very different to the way they show that their life is, if that makes sense. And I think vulnerability is super important, and everyone needs to share their story, no matter how big or small you think it is. If you think it's a small story, share that story with someone, and that person might think it's a big deal and it's a big story. And then that gives them permission to share their small story that someone else might think it's a big story. Because who's to judge what a small and big story are? It's all to do with the person and the perspective.
Feeling of emotions. That was like a big part of like the thing that you actually learned back when you were like 15.
Yes.
So how did you actually make use of it after that phase of your life, age 15? You saw your mom suffering, and then you were able to have this level of feeling of emotions with other people. What changed? What did you make use of it, and what sort of things that you actually do that actually was so different from back when you did not experience it at all?
Yeah. Yeah. Back then, when before that happened, I was very quick to judge people. And truly, I take full responsibility. I was very quick to judge people. I thought ego. There was a lot of ego, because you think, you're 15, life's easy, life's great, everything, you got everything, and you see someone that maybe doesn't have everything, and you're very quick to judge them for who they are. And then seeing my mum go through that really brought me back, and I started to question myself: why was I judging these people? Who am I to judge them? Because their life might not be perfect, but if their life isn't perfect, someone else's life isn't perfect. And the more caring and understanding we can be of other people, the easier life is and the less we actually judge ourselves. Because me judging someone else is an insecurity in me. It's not an insecurity in them. If anyone ever judges a person, it has nothing to do with that person. It's to do with the person that's judging you because they have insecurities that they're afraid to share or deal with. And that's why they're projecting that onto someone else. And the more understanding I had and the more compassion I had for other people, the more I stopped caring about what other people thought of me. And that simplifies everything. When you stop worrying about what other people care about you and their judgment of you, and you only care about what you think and potentially the people you love and actually know who you are, not the people that think they know who you are, but the people that actually know who you are, life becomes so much easier when you stop judging yourself.
Judging people, being arrogant, all this sort of characteristics, it takes a lot of self-awareness for someone to actually know that, yo, I'm doing all this shit and I don't want to continue doing all these things. For you at that particular point of time, now you thinking back, what
Yeah.
was like the thing that got you self-aware about all these traits that you were having?
What brought me the self? That's a great question. That's a great question. I'm going to think about this because I don't want to just give you, an easy answer to just cover up. But what made me self aware was actually catching myself out when I was judging someone, asking myself if I was to judge someone, what is that insecurity? What is that insecurity within me that I need to figure out and solve? First question is, why am I judging that person? How can I judge that person if I don't know their story? How can they judge someone else if they don't know their story? And by simply, as you said, being self aware, by simply being self aware is enough. And the moment you have self awareness, and the moment you have awareness in that space and catch yourself out when you do it, that's 80% of the work. If you have the awareness to catch yourself out, that's 80% of the work. The 20% is changing that dialogue in your head. And it's asking yourself, okay, why am I doing it? Is it helping me? No, so I need to stop. 80% self awareness, 20% is actually doing that. If you have the self awareness to recognize it, you've done it. You've pretty much done it.
Throughout your life, when was your lowest point of your life?
Probably the story I shared with my mum. That was probably my lowest point. But again, I don't try to focus too much on my lowest point because I have things that I focus on and I've resolved that part of my life. Like, again, I feel some people build this narrative that they always hyper focus on the lowest point of their lives. Why put so much emphasis on your lowest point of the life if you have been there, you're reflected, if you've allowed yourself to, be in that moment and understand your emotions and understand why you felt that way, move on and seek that highest point in your life. Like being in the trap where you're always like, oh, that was my lowest point, that was my lowest point, lowest point. You're going to be in that lowest point as long as you pay attention to the lowest point. You got to shift the dialect to be like, okay, I was in my lowest point, but where can I go to now? Where can I go to next? What's my highest point? Let's find my highest point and get there and then be like, okay, this is just the beginning. Where's my next highest point? I'd give my advice to a lot of people would be don't overthink and don't be hyper focused on your lowest point. Understand your lowest point and use that to help you get to your highest point.
I believe that a lot of people who are listening right now that will be very curious is that when they are at their lowest point and you yourself at your lowest point, how did this guy, Stefan, actually shifted his mentality to be looking for the positivity? Because people are naturally inclined to just stay where they are and just be okay with things how it is. What is the thing that actually got you out of it? And I really like that how you are approaching this whole thing is that if you focus on the past, you would live in the past.
Correct.
And what you're doing right now is emphasize on the future, emphasize on the positive part of their life. And I really like that concept. And I've listened to podcasts and that they mention time and time again to not live in the past and look for the future. What is the thing that actually got you out? What is the thing that when you were low and how and what did you do to actually become this person that we're seeing today? Like, what did you do back then?
I mean, my question to you is: do you know the probability of a human being born? Do you know what the probability is of us being born on this earth? Do you know the probability?
Yeah, I follow Gary Vee, man.
One in
Yeah.
400 trillion. Do you know what I mean? Like, if that doesn't bring optimism to your life, to understand that you've won a race, you've literally run a race against 400 trillion other humans, there's a reason why you've been put on this earth. Truly, there's a reason. You wouldn't have been given this opportunity at life if there wasn't a deep reason for your existence. And you got to know your existence. Like, know your existence and trust your existence. And if there's something that you want to share, there's something that you want to create, pursue that. Wake up and know that today is a new day. Today's another opportunity to create something that's not only going to better you, but bettering yourself, you're going to better the people around you. And the people that you better around you will benefit someone else. And yes, you might help yourself, but the people that are going to be in your presence will be also benefiting. And that's that domino effect. It's like one goes to two, two goes to four, four goes to eight, eight eventually gets trillion people. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know there's not a trillion people on this planet. I think it's like 7.5 billion. But know that everything you do, make it your purpose. Make your purpose. Find a passion that you love, and don't just do something because someone told you to do it. Do it because you actually love it. And the moment you find something that you love and you're so passionate about, pursue it. Because the moment you pursue it, it will change something. Something will happen within you that you're like, hold on, I found my purpose. I found my purpose. Let me pursue this purpose. If no one else is doing it, I may do it because maybe someone else needs to hear you want to. And I truly believe everyone that has been given this opportunity has to make it count. And that's the framing. It's like, have optimism for yourself because someone else is counting on you.
Love that. You actually mentioned um, during COVID period, Gary Vee actually helped you a lot. During that phase, like, what happened during the COVID period?
What happened? That's a good question. What happened was I had online studies, so I couldn't go to university, of course. So I was stuck in my room a lot of the time. There were restrictions, so I couldn't go outside too much. Obviously, I'd be in my backyard, exercising, working out, because I'm all about fitness, health, movement. I love sports, so I can't in one position for too long. I need to be on the go. I love being on the go. And during that time, obviously, when you got uni online, you're always online and you're always, I don't know, searching something. And during that period of time when I was alone in my own space, I sat down and actually asked myself, who am I as a person? Who is it that the person I want to be? And what gifts have I got to share with the world? And I knew Gary Vee probably like 2015, 2016. A lot of his stuff was on social media and he was, people were watching him, but I never really seek to understand him. I always agreed with everything he said. Not everything he says, a lot of the things he says, I 100% agree. But again, like, I got online, searched him up, went one video, 1 hour long, two video, like his seminars, 1.5 hours. 5 hours later, I'm still in front of my computer watching his videos. And at that time, I was learning about myself. And the reason why I'm going to take this back now to where I was before, the reason why my circle grew smaller was because he brought perspective of how much judgment there is out there. And there is a lot of judgment out there. And for me, I'm happy to take judgment from other people, but I don't believe your friends should be judging you. They can tell you the truth, but they shouldn't be judging you for who you are. And at that stage, a lot of my friendship group was bonded by judgment and who's going to be the superior man in the group. And for me, that was never me, but I was attached to that because it was safe. It was safe to be surrounded by people. I wanted people around me because then you feel a sense of security, you sense, popularity. And at that age, it's so important. But the moment I actually listened to what he was saying, I started to understand I had these people in my life because I was insecure of the person I was. And the only way I can actually get into that insecurity and understand why I was insecure was by eliminating these people from my circle. And I eliminated that many people that ended up being me in the middle of the circle with no one else around. And that's the truth. And I'm so proud of myself for doing that. And if there's anyone listening that feels that they have certain friends that aren't fully supporting them in what they're doing, and it's not even supporting, that they feel that there's a lot of resistance in that friendship, I want to challenge you to question why are they your friend? Why are you friends with them still? And I eliminated a lot of people, and as I said, I was down to one. And that's really listening to his stuff. I got super focused on the businesses that I wanted to create, and at that stage, I still wasn't creating much, but I was taking in a lot of information. And he talks a lot about judgment, perspective, compassion, and that's really reassured my journey from when I was 15, from the lessons I learned with my mum. That why am I judging people was my own insecurity, and I understood that my friends around me were judging me because of their own insecurity. And the moment I left these people and it was just me, I understood that there was actually no insecurity. It was just the people around me that were making me feel insecure because I didn't agree with what they were saying. And then kept watching his videos and eventually got hooked onto him, and he brought so much light and understanding into my own world. And obviously he's, got a very strong European background. And I started to understand that in some ways I understood him and what he was saying. And I can't say that I completely understood what he was saying because his life is very different to my life, but he brought such perspective and insights for me to better understand myself so I can better understand the people around me. And the more I understood myself and the people around me, that's when my friendship grew. Friendship groups started to slowly grow again. And it went from 1 to 3, 3 to 5, and so on and so on. But to this day, I know who my family are. And my friends are my family, as I said earlier. They're people that I trust, I respect. They tell me how it is. They don't judge me. They tell me how it is. And I respect that in a friendship. I truly do. And I encourage anyone listening that feels that they're afraid of letting go of a friendship group, ask themselves why. Why are you afraid of letting go of some people around you? Is it that you may be seen as alone and it's an insecurity? Is it that these people have been friends with you for 20 years and you're used to it now and you're afraid to say, hey, I'm 40 years old. Like, for example, someone that's 40 years old, I'm afraid to be alone at 40 years old because, these are 30-year-old friendships. Are they serving you? That's my question. Are these friendships serving you? Are they helping you? Because at the end of the day, the only way you can progress and get better is by having the right team around you. And I believe friendship groups and family are your team. They're your business team. They're your life team.
At that point of time when you still had like those 80 friends who are like sort of insecure that is like surrounding you.
I just want to add something. Those 80 friends, a few of those 80 friends are still my friends. So I didn't eliminate all 80. I just identified who out of the 80 were important to me, and how can I help them? How can they help me? And if I felt that the feeling was mutual and it was a friendship with respect and support, then I carried on, because why would I get rid of someone that's I know will help me and support me when I need the most? So that 80 didn't, yes, it went down to me, but a lot of those a few of those people from the 80, I'm not going to say a lot because it's not a lot, a few of those people out of the 80 are still in my circle today because I know that they were special. I know that when I was around them, I felt good. I felt supported. I know that I would support them. They cared about me. They would message me, "Hey, how are you? Is everything okay in life?" Simple, but it means a lot to someone. It means a lot.
Right. So back when that point of time when you still did not figure out who you were, as of who you are and identifying during this whole identifying process. If I was like a fly on a wall, what would I see?
I don't fucking know. If you're a fly on the wall during this time, you would see a man that spent a lot of time with himself. And sometimes you have to deconstruct to construct. And that's what I did. I deconstructed a lot of my image. I deconstructed a lot of the things I thought were important to me because I thought they were important to my people around me. But at the end of the day, what I thought was right was different to them. I was just trying to please the people around me. And ultimately, I deconstructed everything and came back to the questions I mentioned earlier, like who am I as a person? What is it things I want to achieve? And what can I do today to better myself tomorrow? And step by step, I was able to construct myself into the person I am today. And I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. But I look back, and just for myself, I look back at the person I was to who I am now. And I think I've constructed a pretty good human.
Who you are as a person, self-awareness. It seems like these are like the common theme that you were asking yourself. Who am I? What am I? Why is this important? And how do you make use of it?
Who am I? I think ask yourself, who am I as a person? I feel 99.999% of the world has never asked them, who am I as a person? Like, who are we as people? Who do you want to be? Like, it's such an open question, but it's such a difficult question if that makes sense. Because like, for example, who are you? I'm asking you now. Like, I want to hear your response. Who are you as a person?
I'm a curious human being. I'm I'm really motivated. I really wanna. I I think that I'm a helpful person. Yeah.
You think I know you're a helpful person. The fact that you're running this podcast means you're a helpful person. Really, truly.
Right.
And you know the answer. I know the answer. But there's a lot of people that don't know who they are. And as I said, it's a simple question, but it's a scary question. But it's a scary question because it's so beautiful, because you can identify who you want to be and how you want to show up. And having the self-awareness, and again, it's a vulnerable question, isn't it? It's a vulnerable question to ask yourself, who am I? And then when you ask yourself, who do I want to be? It's such an inspiring and opening question because you can be anything. But who are you and who you want to be need to correlate. Otherwise, there's an imbalance. So make sure the person you are and the person you want to show up as, you're striving towards that every single day and work towards it. Work on yourself. Don't think there's going to be big results within 1 day, 1 year, 10 years. You'll see progress once you get there. Don't look back tomorrow and say, I was this person yesterday or the day before. Give yourself a week, give yourself a month, give yourself a year, 10 years. There's no rush. We're so stimulated to get somewhere so quickly, as fast as we can. When what's the rush? Like, genuinely, what's the rush? There's so much time. There is so much time. But make sure you make use of that time.
What sort of like a person have you like? How have you changed? Because before all the filtering of people and before asking like who you are as a person, what are like the biggest shifts and the biggest changes that happened before that whole process of like identifying who you are as a person and then slowly trying to figure out on to becoming who you are as a person as of today? I believe this process is like a continuous journey, and there's like no perfect way. But what are like the biggest things that have changed so far back then until today that you have actually realized yourself?
Can you just shorten the question so I can understand the question? Sorry.
Right. Like what are like the biggest shifts,
Yeah.
biggest changes
Yeah.
that that you have made before the whole process of you identifying who you are as a person?
Again, letting go, as I mentioned. Like, let go. Make your life so simple before you make it complex. Make your life so simple before you start adding new ingredients into your life. Because we make it so complex that we lose sight of the simplicity. But if we're able to visualize and understand ourselves on a simple level, everything we grow from a simple level will continue to be simple. Don't complicate. Like people love to make it complicated with so many things, but the moment you bring it back to a simple state, everything becomes so much simpler to see, understand, feel, and simplicity. Making your life simple.
Why do people make it complicated?
They make it complicated because I believe making it complicated can be a distraction from being simple. Because when you're simple, it's very easy to catch yourself and it's very easy to see certain things that don't align with you. So people love to make it complicated because it's a distraction. But the moment you make it simple, it's hard, but the journey in front is easy.
What is your mission in life?
My mission in life is to share what I'm sharing right now. Truly. I want people to understand themselves. I want people to pursue their passions. I want people to share and give themselves permission to find their purpose. Truly, like when I think about it, my purpose is to share my knowledge and share my journey and to inspire others that everything is possible. And I'm still so early in my journey and I'm excited for my journey ahead. I want people to know that they are capable of everything. They're capable of achieving the things they want to achieve in life. Just know that everything you're visualizing right now might not make sense. And you might be asking yourself, how can I get there? What can I do? When you get there, it will all make sense. I believe when you get to the destination and you look back on the dots that got you there, they all line up perfectly. And there's a reason why you got there. And I just want people to understand themselves. I want people to inspire themselves and the people around them. Truly, like be happy. Like I want people to be happy as well in life. It's again another thing that I wanted to say. Same thing as before. It's so easy. It's difficult to be happy, but it's so easy to be happy.
There's very small percentage of people that actually have this sort of mission of wanting to help people achieve what they can achieve. And for you, where did this whole idea or belief came from? This whole mission.
Seeing my parents do it themselves. I mean, my parents, if they could create the life, if they could give me the opportunity at life, and I've been able to create what I've created for myself so far, then anyone can do it. If my parents could sacrifice and move from a country where they had everything to a country with no degree, to a country where they didn't understand the language, where they've left all their family behind, then ask myself, what's my excuse? What's my excuse if they could do everything and more for me? I want to be able to give back to them as well.
what sort of like gift, if say you are able to like do it for other people, what sort of like a gift or a superpower you like to give for other people if you are able?
Happiness, happiness, happiness. Because when you're happy, everything. When you're happy, you're not concerned about the things that don't matter. And when we focus on things that don't matter, that makes life very difficult. What about the things that you're in control of? And life becomes so much simpler. And the simpler life is, the more happier you are.
You having all these things that you are running and all that, how does like your relationship with people look like on a day-to-day basis? Your close circles, the people that you interact with on your work, how does it look like?
Very strong connections. I work with people that I truly respect, and I bring in an understanding to when I work. I try to understand people and not expecting anything of them that I wouldn't do for myself, and eliminating any expectations of them to give them freedom of how they want to create things. As back to your question, like what do my connections look like? Very strong connections. Very strong connections. I respect them, and I don't know. I hope they respect me. But at the end of the day, it's I'm not gonna. I've been there, and I'm not gonna judge them. I'm not gonna judge them because they're human, and they've. I wouldn't work with them if they. How do I say this? I wouldn't be with them if I didn't appreciate them as a human, not for what they do or how they do it, but as a human. If we share similar qualities and similar values, I respect them.
It seems like you have a very strong conviction to actually build respect with the people that you are close to and especially the people that you are working with. Why is that important? The respect.
It's it's crucial. I mean, if you don't respect the people around you and you don't show, that you care about them, what connection is there? Can you have a meaningful connection with someone if there's no respect? I don't think so. I think respect comes number one. And you can respect, like a lot of people say they need to earn my respect. I work in a different way. The moment I meet someone, they have 100% of my respect. But if they do things that I don't agree with, and it's impacting the people around them, and it's impacting the people I care about, then they start to lose respect. A lot of people say they start at 0 and start to build respect for people to 100. I work a different way. I start at 100. You got my full respect. But it will go down if you hurt the people around me.
Throughout the whole conversation, happiness is like one of the like a biggest theme that I figured so far. So why is that? And like where do you think it came from?
Life is too short to not be happy. And that's reality. Life is way too short to not be happy. And as humans, I almost feel that a lot of people are deprived from happiness because there's so many expectations in society of who you need to be, how you need to show up, what job you need to have, what house you need to live in, what suburb you're going to go to, what school your kids are going to go to. Why do we have these expectations? Why is it that this is what people care more about than actually doing what they love? Like, what are we trying to prove or chase by achieving these things if we're not happy? Like, once you're happy, then you can create anything, and it doesn't matter where you are, how you show up. But happiness comes from pursuing, knowing who you are, That's where happiness comes from. And knowing that every day is a new opportunity. And know that if there's something that you want to do or create, pursue it, because that will bring you more happiness than trying to please someone else that isn't happy themselves. We're trying to prove ourselves to people that aren't happy. For what reason? Find your own happiness. Know your own person. Know who you are. And then figure out the rest.
We've talked a lot about a lot of the different things, and what is like the most important thing that we have not actually talked about during this conversation that you like to bring out?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think a lot of people ask, a lot of questions that I usually get is, how do I find what I love? Well, how do I find something that I love to do? And my simple answer to that is, on a very basic level, as humans, we all know what we want to do. We all know our passions. We all know what direction we want to go in. The question is, are you willing to quieten down the noise around you to connect with what you truly want? Because when you do have all these people telling you what to do, we get confused. When we see a world that are so driven on a 9-to-5 job, which by all means that could be someone's passion and purpose, and they absolutely love that. But don't follow someone's footsteps to try to achieve what they've achieved. Create your own footsteps if you need to create your own footsteps. Yes, follow someone else's if they've done it before and learn from them. But allow yourself to do something different. If you want to pursue, I don't know, anything in life, if you want to be a professional athlete and someone's telling you you can't do it because, I don't know, you're too small, you're too short, you're not strong enough, that's their own insecurities telling you that you can't do it. But if that's your passion, use that passion. And if you don't achieve in that passion, at least you've tried. And maybe you can use that passion for something else. I was a super passionate tennis player. Like, I love tennis and soccer. And my purpose and mission was to always be a professional athlete. I wasn't a professional athlete, but I finished school and I finished as a physiotherapist to help work with professional athletes. And I started working with professional athletes and I love it. And I still do it today when I have time. That's the question that I asked a lot. How do I find what I want to do? And that's my answer. My answer is, find what you want to do by quietening down the noise around you.
If I was a person, maybe Tom, sitting at Australia one day, I'm 20 and I still have not figured out what I want to do, and I really want to know what I want to do, and I'll be asking you, what should I do? Like, what will you say to this person?
Do you want to play it out?
Yeah.
Let's play it out. So what do you love in life? What are your passions?
I think I like building stuff. Building anything. I've been doing engineering for quite a while, and I just like building stuff. Maybe something like a Lego or whatnot.
If you could do anything in life, what would it be? Anything in life, what would it be?
I think working under Elon Musk, I think it's pretty cool. It's onto big
So why
stuff.
don't you do it? Why don't you try?
It's too hard. Like, Elon Musk, man, like, it's big.
He's big, yeah. But where do you think he started?
From small.
Was he Elon Musk 40 years ago? When he was, I don't know how old he is now, when he was 10 years old? He was still Elon Musk.
I don't know him at all. Like,
yeah. So what makes you think that you can't do it?
What should I do now? Like,
do what you think. What do you think you should do? That's my question. What do you think you should do?
Maybe start small.
Yeah.
just find something that I can do over here because I can't possibly be working with him right now. I need to start somewhere.
Absolutely. We all start somewhere, just like he started somewhere. And he got to where he is, and now people see him as Elon Musk. What if you start somewhere and eventually you either work with Elon Musk or you become Jackson, is it? Name?
Right.
You become Jackson. And then there's a Jackson that's your age right now sitting and saying, hey, I want to work for Jackson. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you want to work for Elon Musk, but what makes you think that Jackson might not work for Elon Musk? But what if Jackson becomes Jackson and there's Sam that wants to work for Jackson? We all start somewhere.
Starting somewhere is the big thing to get
Just
you
start.
started.
Just start.
Just
Like,
start
don't
some.
think, if you want to do something, don't think. Don't think too much. Just start. Just start. You ever got a business idea? Just start it. Just don't even put pen to paper. Just start it. Put your ideas and go. Go. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
Back to the thing of like keeping things simple. People are keeping it way too complex.
Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Life is simple.
Right. Throughout this whole conversation, I find you to be very driven, very motivated, and I can see where it's coming from. You know, back in COVID days, you watch Gary Vee, and I think that you carry it forward till today. A very strong one, a very positive one, and I can just feel the energy from the time that we actually started speaking. And I really like how you keep things simple as it is, and that you always look at the positive side, and you are so against the negative, and that this is the sort of energy I think that people should get, you know, because a lot of us like focus on the negative and that, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, but you're always looking forward, you're always doing things out of the ordinary, and that even as of today, you do many different things, and it's not
Yeah.
just one thing, and that you are, I think that you are being, what we call that, vulnerable, and you're being very transparent with your feelings towards things. That if you get bored of certain things, it feels like you will
Change
go
it.
change.
Yeah.
You switch it
Change
up.
it.
You switch it up, and
And
I really
I
like
want
that.
to I want to just change that for a second. I want to stay on that point for a second. A lot of people think, oh, I'm disinterested. I need to change something completely. No, maybe it just means spending a little bit less time on that thing, and the passion comes back, and then you double down on it again. It doesn't mean that you have to fully step away because you're not as passionate. Because sometimes you find a sport, you play sport for 4 days, you love it. Fifth day, you don't like it. You take time off, and you come back and you love it. You don't have to eliminate something because you lose passion. Sometimes give yourself time to regain the passion and then invest again into it.
It's just like how you when you were like filtering your friends, you were figuring out who you are. Yes, you remove that person on a
Correct.
temporary basis, but once you found your true values, and if someone is actually has true value to you, you bring it back. It's,
100%.
I think it's like a concept that is being very general, and it can be applied to many things, and I really like that. And yeah, coming to this, yeah, thank you for doing this whole thing. And
Pleasure.
we have like a closing tradition for this podcast,
Let's
and
go.
that I like to ask you this question because many people have like different phases of our life. We'll feel uh, motivated, and then we'll feel sad, we'll feel happy. As of right now, at this phase of your life, how are you doing?
I love I love that you asked me that question because oftentimes people ask, what are you doing? And not how are you doing? And I believe how are you doing is a reflection of what are you doing. And I'm doing exceptionally well right now. I'm healthy, I'm well, I've got family around me, I'm doing what I love, and I'm going to continue to do the things I love. I'm going to continue to share my message and what I see and what I believe in. And I'm I'm doing really, really well. I'm doing really well. And again, I want to just extend my gratitude to you, Jackson, and say thank you for asking me that question, and I really appreciate your time.
All
And
right.
one more thing, I
Sure.
actually want to respond and ask you, how are you doing?
I think that I'm doing really great, and I think I'm like one of the happiest. Like I went through something that is particularly very hard for me, and then I'm so glad that I went through it, and that now that I'm even in a happier state when back when I was happy, happier than happy, and
Amazing.
that's that's amazing, and it's a really great gift.
You know
That
what? You make me happy that you're so happy. So thank you.
yeah, yeah, cool. Talking about happiness, because happiness is like a big theme of the thing that you've been talking about. What will be a day where you are the happiest and you achieve everything in life? How will that day actually look like to you?
That's a very interesting question that I don't think about. And I think the reason I don't think about that question is because I try to be present and live in every moment with happiness. And if I'm too focused on striving for an outcome to bring me happiness, then I've lost my purpose.
It's about the journey, right?
Correct.
It's about the journey, just enjoying the journey,
Correct.
right? And yeah, thank you, Stefan, for doing this whole thing together.
Amazing.
And
No, thank you. And if anyone wants to reach out, when are you posting this one? Later this month or next month?
yeah, somewhere around this month. Yeah.
Amazing. If anyone wants to send me a message, shoot me a message. If they have any questions, comments, want to have a chat, feel free to find me on social media, Instagram, Stefan, Stefan .Supic. No, sorry, no dot. Stefan Supic. So Stefan Supic. Maybe you can link it below. If anyone wants to have a chat, hit me up. I'm more than willing to jump on a call, even reply to any messages. And I want, I wish every single human that's tuning in with us here on this call to just, I wish you truly all the best. And I'm excited to see everything you create, and go create it for yourself. No one else, just for yourself.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you for doing this.
No worries. Thank you.